So yes, today I want to show you how I made this 11.5 by 8 micro focus card, which I use to actually check my focus when I'm shooting videos. Now, if you're using a iPhone to do your video or anything else, you might not need this that uses autofocus. If you're using even a DSLR and you primarily shoot with autofocus, you might not need it. If you're in a situation like I am, a little studio setup, and you're attempting to just make sure that your focus is on point before you shoot a talking head video, as I am, especially if you are working alone, you may want to use something like this to actually make sure that your focus is on point. So let's talk about how I made this. You can easily create your own personal micro focus card in Adobe Illustrator or any other Illustrator type program. The one thing I like about this particular one, which I've downloaded, I just found it online, someone else created it, the curves, and you have these points. If I can make that out pretty well, then I should be in focus. I also use monitors. I use two external monitors. They're both Feelworld monitors. One just happens to be better at focus peaking than the other one is. So I'll make sure I link those down in the description so you can check those out. But if you do have a way, or if your camera has focus peaking on it, which mine does not, this will work very well for you, because you'll be able to outline or see that your card is actually in focus. And then all you have to do is make sure that you position yourself or whatever your subject is in that exact same area. You can also use other objects. If you have other items and that kind of thing that you can just set in front of, or sit at the right distance from the camera, you can make sure that that's in focus as well. This first one that I created quite a while ago, is on a just regular printer paper like this, and of course it's just paper, and it could get damaged pretty quickly, messed up, scratched up, ripped up, that kind of thing. So what I actually ended up doing with this particular one was I used a piece of cardboard, and I just taped it to cardboard on the back, and that's what I've been using to make it pretty solid. This cardstock is what I'm going to use to make these, as well as they're going to be laminated. We're gonna have to see how that lamination works, because I don't want to glare. The solid paper is flat, so it diffuses the light. If you look at my overexposure, this is a tad bit overly exposed as I'm viewing it through my screen here. But essentially what that does is it allows you to check your exposure as well. If this card is overexposed, then most likely you're going to be overexposed as you are shooting your video because of that white. So I try to keep it maybe just a tad overexposed on that white. And then because of the fact that my skin color is darker, that usually exposes me pretty decent. And then I also check to make sure I'm not overexposed in the process. But we're using this 110-pound cardstock that I'll be using to create the focus card. And so I have already printed the focus card on this cardstock. And if you look, and this is to give you an idea how this is regular paper and this is the cardstock. It's a lot more firm. It's not as firm as this piece of cardboard that's attached to this one, but it's a lot more firm. What I'm also going to be doing is laminating this cardstock, so that's going to make it basically have the rigidity of a playing card, and that should also help this to last a lot longer. So I'll be using a thermal laminating pouch for these, and this is a Scotch brand thermal laminating pouch. I'll make sure I link those down in the description as well. And I also have here a Scotch thermal laminator, which we don't use it often, so I use it. I'll put it right back in the box when I do. I've actually created some media cards and name tags and stuff of that nature that I felt that I needed when I went out, so that I could be readily identified for what I do. So we're going to go ahead and laminate these and see how they turn out. Now, one thing I am noticing about this off the bat is that it is pretty shiny. So I'm looking at this, and you may not even be able to see it depending on how I position it based on this light being here, because there's a nice little glare that comes off of it. And this is the one that is cardstock. Now we got a regular sheet of paper, so you see how this is. I'm going to go ahead and laminate just regular paper just to see, you know, how this turns out. And one of the things that you want to make sure that you do as well is make sure that you actually feed it in as straight as possible. So this first one I didn't feed in very straight, but man, this is awesome. I didn't feed it in as straight as I could have, and it came out, I mean, it still came out perfect, but it was just feeding in a little crooked. You know, with a regular sheet of paper, this seems to be coming out pretty well. It's just a little bit more flexible between the two. They're both actually pretty good. So this one, of course, is just regular paper, and this is the cardstock. That's pretty solid. So there's a little bit of a flex to it, but honestly, it doesn't even matter. You don't even have to really, to me, invest in cardstock. Now I printed this one on laser and this one on an inkjet printer, so you can print on either one. Print your actual diagram on either your focus card on either one, and you're good. I'm going to keep one handy, so if I go out anywhere, I'll have one that stays here stationary in my office space, in a studio space, and the other one, one will travel. I'll have one that I can actually slide into my backpack, so I always have something that I can use. I just have to find a place to clamp it so that I can use it to check focus. These laminators are good for a whole lot more other purposes other than just this. Again, you can trim this out, by the way, but if you wanted to make some ID cards or something like that, if you are out and about and you're recording, even ID cards specific to your YouTube channel. I've got a media card that I created, I actually mailed out for, got a sample of, but I designed the media card in Adobe, and you might want to design your cards so that you can then, if you go out someplace and somebody asks, well, what are you doing? You can actually show them, hey, you know, I'm a YouTube channel, here's my information. If you want to put a little code on there so they can scan it and pull up your channel, that kind of thing, you have it available, put it on a little lanyard, and that way people can say, oh, that's what you're doing? Okay, they can either approve or kick you out or whatever, you know, because I've heard quite a few YouTubers getting kicked out of certain areas, but you can use that at least for the purpose of being able to say, you know, this is what I'm doing, and also be able, as a mobile business card, you can have it on you. People can just scan it to go to your channel or go to your website. You know, they can just send them there. But at any rate, yeah, this is how I focus. I hope that helped you out in some way. If it did, make sure that you drop down in the comments and let me know what your thoughts are. Not only that, check the description. I'll have links to this particular laminator and the lamination paper, everything that I used here in order to create this, as well as some other things that might help you out in the future. So with that, I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you again in the next video.